Okay, hello agent. I'm Agent bamboocyt from Taipei, Taiwan. And today I'm glad to have a accent sensitive and the truth seeker, Mr. P.A.Chapeau, with me.
How are you, Bamboo?
Hi.
Good to see you. Again?
That's really weird.
Sorry, I've got an
problem.
issue with this hand at the
So
moment.
I guess I'll do it with my left
There we
hand.
go. Thanks for meeting me halfway.
Well, today I'm representing investigators from my team, Date-Maru, to ask some special questions to Mr. P.A.Chapeau. Okay, let's start. Start with the basic one. Why did you come to Amsterdam, and what's your purpose?
Yeah, good question. So for those who are less familiar with my work, I'm not particularly aligned with a faction. I'm not a part of the resistance. I'm not a part of the enlightened. As always, my interest is in truth-seeking. It's in the investigation, in the journalistic work to understand more about what's happening at Niantic, what's actually the purpose of the Niantic Intelligence Agency, what is the XM research that they are doing, how is it being funded, and so on and so forth. The reason I've come to Amsterdam specifically is because in the last couple of weeks, we have lost 3 of our researchers, or their simulacra, I should say, Enoch, Stein Lightman, and Carrie Campbell. We believe that these 3 deaths came at the hands of an organization we are calling Nemesis, that we've only just begun to learn even a little bit about. Calvin, who is typically difficult to pin down and get answers from in general, has become completely inaccessible since it came to light that he had patterned the researchers when onboarding them to the Niantic project originally and turned them into simulacrum without their knowledge. We know now that Calvin has done this, and he has not been available to speak to anyone since that has come to light. So I'm here, as always, skeptical of Calvin and Niantic's interests, but given this recent information and Calvin's complete lack of willingness to discuss the most desperate situation that we have seen in quite some time, I am as eager as ever to learn more about Calvin's motivations and true intentions and what it is that he's doing at the Niantic project. So that's why I'm here. I should also mention, though, that in addition to seeking more about Calvin and about Nemesis, we do have Lightman's shards are currently trapped in the portal network, and they are available in the anomalous zones throughout this weekend. So I'm highly encouraging agents who may see this before the weekend has completed, please, the faction that captures more of Lightman's shards will win his allegiance should he return. So please do the work and do what you can to capture his shards. We're at a desperate time, and we need everybody's energy and focus if we're going to come out of this on the other side. That was a long answer. I'm sorry, Bamboo.
Well, thank you. And when I wanted to shake hands with you, I noticed that there should be something happen with your right hand.
Yeah.
Can I ask what happened?
Yeah, you're going to think I'm crazy if you don't already. Are you familiar with Asmati?
Yeah.
So Hank Johnson has a contact in Afghanistan named Asmati, who the short story has a method whereby he's able to tell if someone is a simulacra or a human being. Unfortunately, it's a method that involves taking a knife to the hand, and if you're a human being, the outcome is a really painful hand. So the good news is I have confirmed that I am not a simulacrum. I suppose that's good news anyway. The bad news is I have a very screwed up right hand. So I'm currently healing a wound about 4 inches wide, running vertically along the right side of my palm. Should be healed at sometime soon. I have most mobility. It's not too bad, but for the time being, I'm shaking like this.
So it's not like Mr. Makoto?
No, though I've been hearing about Mr. Makoto and how my look might be similar.
Okay, let's proceed to another question. Please let us know that your opinion about XM.
Oh my goodness, my opinion about XM. I mean, I could write a book on it. Again, the short story is that exotic matter is still an investigational scientific exploration. We do not know the impact that XM has on human beings. We have theories. The enlightened have theories. The resistance have theories. The NIA will say certain things, and they will just brush past other things. The bottom line is we do not know the results of XM on human beings. And until we are able to get definitive answers from the leadership at NIA or other organizations that are interested in XM, as we know, the NIA is not the only organization interested in XM, I think we need to be extraordinarily skeptical of its powers. We have already seen some extremely abnormal activities take place with people who have had high XM exposure, and now we're talking about the murder of 3 scientists who have been working on XM just in the past couple of weeks. So if you do not see XM as something that comes with a giant watch out or a giant red flag, you're not paying attention.
Since our last meet was in Hong Kong, right?
Yes.
And I think you got a confidential document of Hulong Transglobal in Hong Kong. What's written in it and where it is?
I have the document. I can't share it at the moment for classified reasons, but what I can tell you is that the document I received in Hulong was well worth the trip to Hong Kong. It confirmed the size and scope of the Hulong empire, really, I would call it. There was an analysis done by the Global Data Analysis Group, or GDAG, and they confirmed that the number of subsidiaries and entities that the Hulong Transglobal Corporation encompasses is as large as any multinational corporation in the world. There are connections to the Triad, there are connections to the People's Republic of China, there are connections to some of the highest financiers in the world, and there are connections to dark money that we cannot trace back that has... Why are you laughing?
Nothing.
This is are you listening to what I'm telling you?
Yeah, I'm listening.
This is one of the scariest organizations. This puts any kind of mafia or any kind of street crime organization you've ever heard of in preschool. This is an extraordinarily serious matter. We've had 3 deaths in the last 2 weeks. I appreciate a good sense of humor, and I'm as lighthearted as anyone. But if we're going to be telling the agents what's going on, we need to take this seriously. So if you're going to ask questions about what's going on, I need you to respect what the answers are. Okay?
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. And I appreciate your interest. You're a dedicated investigator. But again, we've lost 3 people in the past 2 weeks. The stakes have never been higher. Sorry to get work done.
And, well, there's been turbulence on the Dark XM recently.
Yeah.
Was it man-made or self-developed? Or what do you see in its meaning and effect? And any insights you want to share with agents?
About Dark XM specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what I said about XM in general applies to Dark XM. In fact, I would say Dark XM only further pushes my skepticism, because Dark XM acknowledges that there are powers of XM that are undesirable or, frankly, not on the side of good. And yet we don't understand this, and we are continuing to perpetuate it. So I think in fact, I'm glad that Dark XM is becoming something we're talking about more, because I think it helps us appreciate just how vast this world of XM truly is. Chaotic matter, another element of exotic matter that we don't understand, that's having ramifications that we don't understand. I would encourage investigators to do what you can to learn more about Dark XM, but to stay far away from anyone who purports it being something important or positive in any way. Investigate it, but stay away from it.
Okay, and the next question is also about the Dark XM. As the Dark XM turbulence at the end of April, XM in the place where there is even no portal on scanner view also died in red. And it's not even come out of portal network, even in this XM. It can be considered that all XMs on the Earth have been affected, right? And it is said that XM was originally delivered from our world into the universe you were in. But were there something like this problem?
I think that question is that the answer's in the question. Yeah. There's so much complexity to XM that we don't have answers for. Even its origin is in question. So I don't think we're able to. There's a desire to drill down on the specifics of Dark XM, but I think the underlying problem is that we simply still do not have enough information about XM. I will also offer that as much as we know about the NIA and what they have done, and there's so much we don't know, but there's a fair amount we do. There are these other entities interested in XM, and we know even less about them. One of them might be Nemesis. Nemesis might be the leader in Dark XM for all we know. Their activity might be generated by XM primarily for all we know. So I go back to what I said to you before. I think it's important for the investigators to continue to follow every lead, but to stay very skeptical and to stay away from dark XM, and in my opinion, XM in general.
And I'm proceeding to the next one.
Okay.
Mr. Oliver London Wolf Prime.
Yes.
Stated in Warsaw that the time in the Prime universe runs twice times faster than our dimension. Can you confirm it or deny it?
Neither. I mean, that's my understanding, but my understanding comes from him. I don't have any supporting evidence for that, but I have nothing to debunk what OLW has to say. So for the time being, I'm happy to accept that, but I have nothing to support it.
Okay. And what have been our experienced series of events shared from the Prime universe, starting from Cassandra, Recursion, Darsana, and now we're in Abaddon. And how do you see the effects between 1218 and Prime universe? And what lie ahead between the two universes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think since I last saw you in Hong Kong, we've learned a bit more about the Prime universe and how it's distinguished from the 2018 universe. In fact, since I saw you in Hong Kong, I've communicated on a few occasions now with 2018 P.A.C. through video. We've yet to meet. We've seen the Hank Johnsons working cooperatively across universe. So I think we're starting to see how these universes interact with each other, which is, for me, extremely encouraging. It means we're one step closer to learning the truth of the multi-universe and the function of the various individuals within the universes as it pertains to their relationships with their counterparts.
And Mr. Hank Johnson, as you mentioned, he can move freely around the multi-universe. Can you do the same thing with him?
No. No, Hank is special. Hank is special. I'm not sure what gives him that unique ability, and I'm not sure if anyone else has that ability. I know I do not. I also know that I'm not a simulacrum, so I'm not sure how that comes into play, but while I've been able to communicate with 2018 P.A.C., I don't have the flexibility that, say, Hank Johnson appears to.
Okay. Since you have been able to communicate with your version in the Prime universe, what do you think you can learn from him, and are you currently working together?
That's another great question. What do I think I can learn from him? He and I are quite similar in some ways and quite different in other ways. There's a weariness about him that I'm concerned by, to be honest, and I've shared this with him. I'm wondering what's led him to that path, and if it's a path that I happen to be on as well. He's also acknowledged that there are aspects of my investigation that have not been on his radar before. So I think we both have a lot that we can learn from one another, but we're just scratching the surface. I would genuinely enjoy continuing to work with him. I think his intentions are good. I trust where he comes from. I'm trying to remain skeptical, and I'm trying to remain unbiased. Obviously, he is a version of me, so that is hard to do. But I believe we have a lot to learn from each other.
What is your opinion on glyphs? Do you know? Do you think there are more glyphs out there, either Prime or on a dating universe, have nothing yet?
It's another very good question. So we've known about shaper glyphs for quite some time. Carrie, who again we've unfortunately lost, was an expert in shaper glyphs. Stein Lightman was an expert in his own right in glyphs. I believe there are still shaper glyphs that we have not discovered. However, there are glyphs that are coming from this organization, Nemesis. At least that's who we believe they are coming from. And while those glyphs have characteristics that are similar in some ways to the shaper glyphs, Carrie and Lightman, before they were killed, determined that this is its own glyph language that we are currently calling the Nemesis glyph language. So that is both terrifying and exciting, because it tells us there is another language that's being used that Carrie and Lightman were very close to breaking before they were killed, which I do not think is a coincidence. It's worth mentioning as well, there are artifacts in the portals here in the anomalous zones this weekend that are helping us learn more about this glyph language. I believe there are members of Essex that are quite close, they think at least, to breaking the language open. If we can get these artifacts from the portals, perhaps by the end of this weekend or in the near future, we'll be able to understand the language thoroughly.
Do you know about a person named Amazia?
I do. What about him?
Well, I mean, He's one of the source of our P.A.Chapeau, but he seems to be less friendly. Do you know him personally, or do you have any comment on him?
Not really. Yeah, I'm familiar with his relationship to 2018 Chapeau, but we don't have much of a relationship, so I can't really shine more light on that, unfortunately.
Okay, no problem. And did you ever work at the NSA prior to Niantic?
No, I never worked for a government agency prior to being brought in to work with Ada.
Okay. And what do you know about artifact intelligence and truth seeker?
Oh, the AI Truth Seeker?
Yeah.
I know it exists. I know that it is said to be an artificial intelligence that is on the side of seeking truth and doing good. I don't know who's behind Truth Seeker, so I don't know if we can fully trust Truth Seeker's orientation. But if the AI Truth Seeker is, as it is stated to be, a Truth Seeker, and it is appropriately oriented, I would greatly welcome Truth Seeker's work on the investigation. I can only see it as an asset. That said, I do feel a little bit burned by Ada, and I'm not necessarily in a position where I'm looking to give the benefit of the doubt to any AI, so I will remain skeptical of Truth Seeker until proven otherwise.
Okay. What do you think Ada is trying to achieve with Darwin?
I don't know. I thought I had a very good handle on Ada. Ada and I became quite close. I trusted Ada. I shared things with Ada I had never shared with anyone else. And then she used us in Dunraven. So I thought her objective was to return to the Nazir substrate. I thought that she had motives that I could get behind. But frankly, until she resurfaces, I think it's hard to say that Ada's working for anyone other than herself right now.
Do you know a woman named Clue?
I know a woman named Wendy.
While you signed on a card.
Say that again?
While you signed on her card yesterday, I saw some picture that you're signing on a card, which name is Clue. Are you sure you really don't know her?
I'm not sure about the card that you're referencing, so we can follow up about that. I mean, obviously, you're familiar with Dunraven, so I know Clue, and I know that the last that I heard from Clue, she was living within Wendy. The last time that I was with Wendy, Wendy had become Clue. But I believe, like you and like everyone else, I haven't heard anything since Colon. I haven't heard anything from Wendy. I haven't heard anything from Hank. I haven't heard anything from Hank. I haven't heard anything from anyone. So I'm concerned about Wendy. I know Clue. I have no opinion of Clue at the moment. My concern is for Wendy.
Well, what I can tell you is that Clue and your version from our universe were romantically involved. Could this, be a problem in that Wendy-Clue issue?
I mean, I think the two are separate matters. If 2018 me and Clue are a thing, then they, good for them, go with God. I have no romantic interest in Clue whatsoever. Again, my interest is in Wendy and her safety and well-being. I am concerned that the last we spoke with Clue and with Jarvis, the plan was that Clue was simply going to temporarily take over Wendy's mind for the length of Colon. Weeks have gone by and we have heard nothing. And you tell me, do you think that Clue is just going to willingly leave Wendy because she said so?
I don't really think so.
I don't really think so either. So my concern is that Clue isn't going anywhere. I guess as I'm saying these words out loud, you mentioning the romantic interest with 2018 and asking about us working together. If he had a romantic interest in Clue that would prohibit his ability to continue his work as a truth seeker in an unbiased way, then we will have a problem. But if he can put aside any personal feelings to do the work that he knows how to do, then we won't have any problem.
Has Hank Johnson from the Prime Universe told you about his plan with Jahan?
No, I haven't heard anything from Hank since he was in Colon.
So you also don't have any information about Colon or I heard that Hank Johnson might be here also.
If he's here, I haven't seen him, and he hasn't made himself known. He does tend to give me a heads up, and for those who are following the communication on the Investigate Ingress subreddit, they'll know that Hank is a frequent contributor. We share the information, so Hank and I remain quite close. I'd be surprised if he's here and didn't tell me, but then again, I think everybody is trying to keep a low profile right now. In fact, I'm probably a fool for being so public about my being here, given that, again, we've lost 3 people in the last 2 weeks. So I don't know where Hank is. I don't know what his plans are. I have a feeling, depending on how things went at Colon, what the current status of the stone actually is. We don't know if the Osiris stone has actually been captured by anyone or not. My assumption is that it has not, and that if it was, we would know by now. But I think we have a lot to learn with what happened in Colon, and until we do, any speculating or ideas about plans are half-baked.
And mentioned about the Osiris stone.
Yes.
What's your understanding of that? And Hank Johnson from our dimension say that it's a prime object. Do you understand what's the prime object and their effects?
This is a question I have asked Ezekiel Calvin probably as often as I have asked him any question. And he has evaded this question as often as he's evaded almost any other question. I don't know what the true power of the stone is. What I do know is that twice now, top-level strategists and technicians have been sent to go retrieve it. Twice. Most recently by the TKO operation. Prior to that, there was a team's, I'd have to check my notes, the Obsidian team that Calvin had sent out to go get the stone prior to. That team disappeared. Either killed or kidnapped, I can only imagine. We have a second team that weeks ago went out, haven't heard anything. Killed, kidnapped, MIA, stolen the stone, we don't know. It seems as though Carey and Lightman, before they were killed, were getting closer to breaking the Nemesis glyph language. Enoch, before he was killed, was using his skills in music, correlated with Carey's and Lightman's in the glyph language, to also determine the communication pattern of this new Nemesis glyph language. All 3 of those individuals were killed. 2 expert teams have been sent to go find the stone. Those 2 teams have not been heard from. So whatever this stone's power truly is, it seems as though Nemesis has a strong interest in it not being captured by Niantic. Why? I don't know. What does the stone do? I don't know. But it seems as though it's one of the most valuable things that we have ever come across, because there is some extraordinarily interested parties who are interested in keeping it away from anyone connected to Niantic. That says a lot. For as much mystery that exists in this world, that seems very clear.
Talking about TKO Group, what's your opinion about them?
In general?
Yeah, in general.
Well, I think they've been corrupted. I mean, I think they've been given equipment that most likely was corrupted by the Hulong Trends Global, and may have been the exact same corruption that was the downfall of the prior team that was sent for the Osiris Stone. So the TKO team, I think, was a decent idea. I mean, look, anytime you have almost basically a private military party that's working for a single client, you're working in very dangerous territory. But if we're being honest, Niantic, Hulong, and these similar such organizations, they all have these private security forces. I'm a bit uncomfortable with the idea of a private security force that's equipped to the level of TKO. But if we're accepting the fact that that exists within this world, I think the fact that they were trying to go get the stone and were stopped from doing it, again, says a lot about those who are trying to do the stopping.
And the war between the 30 Magnus and the anti-Magnus is spreading cross-dimensional. So, do you have a clue of their next move?
I don't, because again, I think there's too much that rides on what actually happened in Colon, what's happening this weekend, and what's happening next weekend. So there's too much that's going on to predict next moves. In general, what I think is interesting, if we look at the idea of a combined Magnus, right, that's both resistance and enlightenment. If you look at the investigators, it's the same concept. And in fact, the Niantic researchers, it's the same concept, right? These were sensitives from different sides, different ideologies, who are brought together to work toward a common purpose, much like the investigators on both sides of both factions who work toward the truth in our work. I'd like to see a world where these magnetists can come together and not be at such oppositional forces with one another. Their war is one of the most damaging that we have. And if we can find a way to combine forces rather than to always be in opposition, I think we have a better chance at, frankly, surviving. Because right now, I believe we're in a matter of life and death.
Let's talk about Eskel Kevin. His version in our universe did horrible things to Niantic project members and ended up his life tragedy. Do you think the one from your universe is a trustable person? And how do you think about him? And how do you think about Niantic under his lead?
How do I think about Calvin and Niantic under his lead?
Yep.
Well, I mean, as you've probably heard me say in these past 30 minutes, I'm not a particularly big fan of Calvin. Here's the bottom line. This is the time for transparency. Calvin has always been reticent to be transparent. He has always defaulted to it's private research, it's top secret, it's confidential, it's proprietary. It's too late for that. People are dying. It's too late for proprietary information. People are dying. And if he is not willing to come out from whatever hole he is under to tell us what he knows, then he is part of the problem. So until Calvin decides to step forward, Calvin is not an ally. I won't call Calvin an enemy, but I will call him a coward. That's how I feel about his leadership. Calvin is a coward.
And I would like to ask you for your opinion about Omnivore. What happened to them?
Honestly, I haven't been following. I don't know. It's not been a focus of mine in the past few weeks. But do you have any updates?
Nope.
No?
That's why I'm asking you.
No, nor do I.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And we're proceeding to the last question.
Okay.
How far is your survey going? What should you tell to all the agents and investigators?
The thing I want to tell to all agents and investigators, priorities change over the course of time because conditions change, given circumstances change. There's a time to get very interested in certain details about the XM or Niantic or what happened here and what happened there. Right now, we are at such a high level of threat that we need to prioritize where we put our focus. It is my firm position that our focus right now must be on understanding who Nemesis is and what Calvin's motivations are. We know that Calvin patterned the researchers when they were onboarded. They didn't know that that was happening. We know that he turned them into simulacrum without their knowing. Why? We know he's not speaking now as people are dying and this new organization has presented itself. Why? We know that he has lost 2 teams who are trying to go get the Osiris stone. Why? Calvin needs to answer these questions and we need to force him to do so. And on the other side, we need to keep investigating what Nemesis is trying to communicate and what their intentions are. Anything else is not a good use of time right now. That's my message to the agents.
And I think I'm running out of my questions.
We did a good job. I mean, what do we got? 30 minutes there. That was pretty good.
Yeah, and thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to jump on you either before. I'm a little worked up. And I appreciate the work you're doing, and I hope you know that.
Hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.